The Atlanta FaZe have only been around since 2019, but in that short period of time, they have been the most dominant team in the CDL. Today, we're going to find out if the Atlanta FaZe have what it takes not only to cement themselves as a Call of Duty dynasty, but to cement themselves as the greatest Call of Duty team ever. What's going on, everybody? In today's video, we're going to be discussing how dominant the Atlanta FaZe have been, how their reputation will affect their mental game, their huge upset at the CDL Kickoff weekend, and if there's any teams that can steal their spotlight in the Vanguard season. If you stick around to the end, I'm going to tell you who I think is the most overrated CDL team this year. The date was May 2nd, 2019. That's when the Atlanta FaZe announced their franchise team with the roster consisting of Simp, Cellium, OAKBOYZ, Priesta, and Major Maniac. Yes, 5, as well as Crowder, who was their head coach. And in the first year of the CDL, they went on to win 2 home series before ultimately falling to the Dallas Empire at COD Champs. But nothing to be ashamed about. They had a lot of success in that first year, and even though they didn't win, they still got second at the biggest event all year. And then in 2020, the CDL made a great decision.
I don't believe you.
They decided to change competitive COD back to 4v4. And what that meant, not only for the Atlanta FaZe, but every other team in the CDL, was they were going to have to drop a player. And normally, there's a ton of roster changes that happen in the offseason. But when you add in that extra element, it was pretty crazy. And FaZe obviously kept the Tiny Terrors in Cellium. And they added a familiar face back to the roster. And that's because Arcity was back as the main AR. Arguably one of the best Call of Duty rosters ever on paper, but this is truly where FaZe found their dominance. Not only did they win 3 of the 5 majors in Cold War, they were able to get the big one. They won COD Champs in Cold War, even though Toronto Ultra, they made them work their asses off for it.
But look at the minimap FaZe are in! It's the guts, it's the glory, it's the championship for FaZe!
The Atlanta FaZe were obviously the best team in Cold War. But that's where you started hearing whispers and maybe even shouts of people saying that they are the next Call of Duty dynasty. And they have what it takes to be potentially the greatest Call of Duty team of all time. But how does that affect them? And will it affect them? I know from personal experiences as a competitor how having high expectations feel like you have a bullseye on your back. Not only as an individual, but also as a team. You start getting this certain swagger, there's certain confidence about yourself and about your team because you're having this high level of success. Take your minds back to Advanced Warfare. Everyone knows about that OpTic gaming dynasty where they were dominant. That was the start of their dynasty run in Advanced Warfare. But then a new competitor was formed. The FaZe team that consisted of myself, Attach, Clayster, and Zuma. We went head to head at many events, but every time we matched up in the finals, we had their number. They didn't beat us, not one time in that year. And while not only were we competing with them, the tide was starting to turn where people thought, oh, OpTic has someone who can go head to head, toe to toe, however you want to explain it, and beat them. But also there might be a new best team in the game. And believe me, there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. When you are experiencing that, where people expect so highly of you and your team in a competitive environment. And that was the beginning of our downfall. Because in Call of Duty, the title switches every year. So while we had a lot of success in Advanced Warfare, and while people had such high expectations, I mean, damn, we had high expectations. And it just didn't turn out the way that we and a lot of other people expected it. Black Ops 3, we never really found our footing. Maybe our own egos got to our head because we had so much success. Maybe that there was a ton of pressure because of how successful we were in a prior game to continue it. And it changes your mentality, right? Because when you're on the journey to being the best, that's the easier part of the two. It's still hard, don't get me wrong, but The much more harder part is sustaining that level of play. And then when you already are the best, being able to do it for a lengthy period of time. It's damn near impossible because you have a bullseye on your back and everyone else is trying to create these teams to take you down. So am I necessarily surprised with what happened at the CDL Kickoff weekend? No. The CDL Kickoff weekend was a single elim tournament and FaZe had a bye going into the second round. Seattle Surge obviously dominated the London Royal Ravens. And while the Seattle Surge is a lot better of a team than it's been in their last 2 years, to say the least. Sam should have never dropped me, but that's besides the point. So I'm not saying that Atlanta FaZe was overlooking the Seattle Surge, because Seattle Surge has been making some noise online prior. But no matter what anyone tells you, when you are at a point where FaZe is, you feel unbeatable. Okay? It's how it works. You've proven to everyone how dominant you are, how good you are. You've earned that respect, right? So you don't think any team can beat you, especially not a newer formed team. And while the outcome of the series wasn't surprising in the sense that FaZe lost to me, I think it was just how much more dominant the Seattle Surge looked.
Skating across the map, showing us all kinds of different places for movement inside of the bottom, but Mac once more starting to melt. 233 to 196. Atlanta, what can they do? The Surge have fought back. They're not going down without a fight. Only 15 points more needed for them. P5 going neither way. Accuracy pulls out the SMG, and he's staying alive. Surge cannot win it here, but they're on the rotation. Sib is at next. Only a few more points needed. Are FaZe gonna go down once more to the Surge as Sib takes down 3. 1 more second, and that will be Seattle.
And the Surge actually had a very, very good run. They went on to make it to the finals before they unfortunately lost to the Toronto Ultra. So is it a one-off? Does this game just not fit their play styles? And I know that's crazy to say because they have some of the best Call of Duty players of all time. Or if it isn't that, is their mentality different? Is the pressure affecting them, affecting their play? Because like I said, the hardest part isn't being the best team, it's sustaining that. And this is the make or break year for Atlanta FaZe, in my opinion, in terms of them solidifying themselves as a dynasty. You can't argue it if they have a very successful year this year. But on top of that, depending on how they do, they can go down as the greatest Call of Duty team ever, in my opinion. Everyone on that Atlanta FaZe team wants to be the greatest Call of Duty team of all time. So the pressure can affect you. And who knows if it's going to affect their level of play this year? We're just going to have to wait and find out. Now, I told you guys at the beginning of the video that I was going to say who I thought was the most overrated CDL team in the Vanguard season. All I'm going to do is say a name. And if you guys want a video on it, you have to let me know in the comment section below. But I think the most overrated team in the Vanguard season is